Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jenna and I'm really glad that you're here. Don't mind all the baby chatter and grunting. She's chilling over here, beginning to wake up, so she might get a little bit fussy. Today's video, I'm going to be sharing my postpartum experience. I just gave birth to my daughter 3 weeks ago, so I'm not fully healed or recovered from the postpartum period, but I wanted to make this video just to have an outlet to share my experience. I also wanted to make it to maybe relate with other women going through the same thing. Immediately once I got home after giving birth, I started researching and looking up videos about 4th degree tears, and there's really not that many, especially newer ones that have come out recently. I wanted to make this because I didn't see many videos about 4th degree tear recovery, and I just feel like sharing my experience. So this isn't going to be like a normal postpartum video. Everyone's postpartum recovery is different, especially depending on what degree tear you got, if you even tore at all, if you had a C-section. So this is just my experience. I'm not saying this is how it's going to go for everyone. It's definitely not going to go this way for everyone. Like I said, everyone is different. This is just what I have been going through, and I wanted to share in case anyone else is going through the same thing or is just curious about how I'm recovering from the 4th degree tear. Oh, I also wanted to add that I asked on Instagram if any of you guys had questions about postpartum, no matter how TMI it is, and I got a lot of questions, but this video is going to be much too long, so I'm going to make that into sort of a part 2. That the question and answer will be a separate video. So be on the lookout for that next. And anyway, let's jump into the video. So I'm going to start with talking about the tear because that is the main part of my recovery, in my case at least. If you don't know what a 4th degree tear is, you can Google it, but I'll just try to explain it to the best of my ability. Not a doctor. I didn't even know what a 4th degree tear was until I got one. So, tears are rated on a scale of 1 to 4. So 1 being the least and then 4 being the worst you can have. So a 1, I believe, is just a tear through the vaginal tissue. So just like a little small tear. I don't even know if you need stitches for a 1st degree tear. But then what I have, a 4th degree tear is, I wrote it down because I don't really remember. But a 4th degree tear is a tear from your vagina, through the perineal muscle, through the anal sphincter, and then also through the mucous membrane surrounding the rectum. So, in normal people terms like myself, it's from front to back. So it rips all the way through your vagina to your butt. And luckily, praise God, mine was a low 4th degree tear, so it did rip through that mucous membrane, but not all the way through, if that makes sense. So it is classified as a 4th degree tear, but it's on the lower half of the spectrum or whatever. Okay, so I'm not sure where I left off. Baby is getting a little bit fussy, so I'm gonna try to calm her down a little bit. Okay, anyway, I did have to get stitches. I'm not sure how many stitches because I was too busy meeting this little one. But I did not have an epidural, so I had to get Novocaine. I think that's what they used. I think Novocaine they used to numb that area and then stitch it up while I was doing skin to skin with Hazel. After I got all stitched up, I got to lay in that bed for a little bit and just do skin to skin with her, try to nurse her a little bit. And then after I got put into my postpartum room, which was the room I was gonna stay in for the rest of the time I was at the hospital, the Novocaine started to wear off, and that is when I was like, ooh, this is gonna be a long night. And little did I know that it would be a long few weeks. But I just remember feeling like I had gotten kicked in the crotch well over 20 times. It just felt so bruised and Maybe I even still had some Novocaine because I couldn't actually feel like burning where the tear was. Like I feel like if it's a cut, you should feel burning. But there was just so much pressure and swollenness and pain down there. I couldn't even stand it. Like the only way I was comfortable was laying on my side in bed, and I could not get out of bed without help. I couldn't walk. It was so bad. Like the recovery that first night was so hard, and I am so blessed with the nurse I had that night because my husband, like I said in my last video, he was sick the morning of my delivery. So I wanted him to get as much sleep as he could that next night because he had gone through a lot too that day, and then I was dead from delivering. So I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to take care of this new baby that I don't even know? And I just got really blessed with the nurse I had because she pretty much stayed in my room all night, changed all of her diapers. She'd put the baby on my chest when she wanted us to try to feed, and otherwise she just took care of the baby, and I still got to have the baby next to me because I really didn't want to put her in the hospital nursery. I wanted her with me the first day she was here because she's used to being with me all the time. So I wanted to stay with her. But if I didn't have that nurse there, I don't know what I would have done because I couldn't keep getting up and rocking her because I could barely stand. I could barely sit. Like I was just in so much pain. So the medication I was taking was Tylenol, and then I had to take a stool softener as well because, like I said, that muscle is completely obliterated. And so they didn't want me straining at all. They wanted me to start taking stool softener right away so that when I got home and I did have to have a bowel movement, it would just kind of like come out without me having to try. So I was on a stool softener, and then the next day they put me on oxycodone, which is a higher pain medication, and that really helped my pain. It made me feel a little bit loopy, and I didn't like that, but it helped my pain a lot. So those were the medications I was on. I don't want to scare anybody who this is maybe happening to, but I also want to be completely honest. The first night, second night, third night, fourth night of the pain, probably for about a week, was maybe the worst pain I've ever experienced. It could be because it's in such a like sensitive area, and that area just went through a lot of trauma, I guess. So just all of it put together maybe made it seem worse than it was. But the way I felt those first few nights was insane. Like I didn't know how I was walking at all. I didn't know how I was standing at all. I waddled, like for real waddled. I couldn't even like bend my legs for days, and it was kind of embarrassing, but whatever. I had to do what I had to do. But after about a week, the pain started to go down significantly. I still have pain, but it's nothing like compared to what it was. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. Just remember that if you're going through this right now. Aside from the tear, I don't really think there's much to talk about besides that. Like the only thing that they gave me in the hospital to help with the tear was like they'd stuff ice in a diaper, and I wore the diaper ice pack, and that helped so much. Like I did that when I got home too. I just slept in this diaper ice pack, and I walked around in this diaper ice pack. I went to our first pediatric appointment in this ice diaper. Like I just had to do what I had to do, but it was something. So that's pretty much all they gave me was the pain meds, and they gave me Tux pads, which are just witch hazel soaked pads, and then the ice diapers. I wanted to touch on like 2 more things before I move on from the tear, because I don't want to ramble about it, but this is my like time to vent. One, the reason that I think it was so hard for me the first week is because you are supposed to take it so slow with a tear that bad, even with a 3rd degree, 2nd degree tear. You're supposed to take it very slow. You should take it slow even if you don't tear after birth. You just went through a lot. And I felt kind of like pressure, not from like anyone else, but from myself. I felt like I had this pressure on myself to just bounce back right away the next day. And I think it was good for me in some ways, because I feel like if I would have stayed in bed all day, I would feel like lazy or something. But it was also really hard on me because I pushed myself farther than I think I should have in that first week. I was up doing normal things right away and like out and about in public, and I just felt like I had pressure on myself to just bounce back to my pre-pregnancy self. And so I just kind of tried to like put on nice clothes and put on a front and just pretend like I wasn't in pain, and it ended up making me more in pain at the end of the days. I think I should have taken it a lot more slow and just stayed home and rested more than I did. I did rest a lot, as much as you can with a newborn, but I feel like I should have taken it slower because it was really hard on me, not only physically but a lot mentally. I was just really drained and anxious about the tear, that it wasn't going to heal properly, because if it doesn't heal properly, I could have to get surgery on that area to repair it if it doesn't heal properly. So I'm just kind of anxious about that. And just taking care of a newborn with this tear there was nothing that could have prepared me for that. Yeah, so just if you're going through this, I would really recommend taking it slow. Take it from me, I didn't take it slow and I wish I would have. Just remember, you are healing from a very large injury. You shouldn't push yourself, because it can be serious if you don't heal properly. So yeah, take it slow. Give yourself time and grace to get back to your normal self. And then the last thing about this, I did have my 3-week postpartum follow-up visit with the doctor who stitched me up. He wanted to double check and make sure everything was healing properly, because it is such an intense injury, an intense repair, I guess. So I did have that follow-up appointment. He said I'm healing nicely and that I'm further in my recovery than he hoped I would be. So that is good news. So now let's go into the normal postpartum stuff. Right away after you give birth and you get stitched up and you get skin to skin, you feed your baby, they'll have you get up and pee, and they'll help you get up and pee because they want to measure, I think, the volume of your pee and then teach you how to use the peri bottle, which you will get whether you tear or not. They'll just have you, instead of wiping down there, they'll have you spray off with water as you're peeing and then pat dry. It's probably going to burn when you pee, so that water is to help with the burning sensation. And then also they have to help you sit up because you lose a lot of blood and you can get lightheaded and pass out. So they sit with you on your bed until your body kind of regulates the blood, because it all just like falls out of you. Like right away, and all the blood just like pours out. Like, not trying to scare anyone, but that's what happens. I mean, you just gave birth, so what do you expect? But yeah, you pee and then you get to go to your room. So the first thing I noticed, it was either that first time I peed or the next morning I looked, and that whole area down there, it's like unrecognizable. So swollen. The swelling, I didn't know that much swelling was possible. That's all I can say. It was unreal, but it did go away, I think, within a day or so. It just started to slowly go back down to normal. And then for me, the emotions postpartum in the first week was insane. They warn you, like, your hormones are the highest they've ever been right before you give birth, and then right after you give birth to the placenta, literally the second you birth the placenta, your hormones start dropping down to the lowest they'll ever be. That's what the nurses told me, at least. They'll go from the highest to the very lowest they'll ever be within a couple hours or days. And so that's why women after they give birth have so many mood swings, can go through the baby blues. Postpartum depression is very serious, and make sure if you're experiencing that, you tell your doctor or people that you trust, but make sure you tell someone. That is something you need to talk about. But the normal emotional fluctuation is to be expected, so don't freak out if you're like, who am I? Why am I crying all the time? I am an emotional person. I will say that. I'm an emotional person. So I expected to be emotional, but I never, ever, never expected to be this emotional. I could not stop crying sometimes. Like, I woke up one day when my milk started to come in, and with the tear and the milk coming in and being up all night, it was so much. I just cried pretty much all day. Like, I had an emotional breakdown and I just bawled my eyes out. And it was so embarrassing because it happened at her pediatric appointment, and it happened when my mom and sister were here and my nieces, and I just couldn't stop crying. And it was like, it was really hard. I don't know how else to explain it, but make sure that you just let yourself feel those emotions. It's hard to try and suppress them, I guess. Like, just let yourself feel those emotions. It doesn't mean you're a bad mom or anything. It's so much adjusting all within such a short amount of time. And you can't prepare to be a mom, really. You have to just jump right into it, and it's okay to feel all those emotions. On top of the emotions, this is a story for another time, but Hazel did not latch properly, and so that was super hard on me, and that made my emotions even more worse. It was just a lot, but I'll talk about that in a separate video. Also, no one prepares you for the second night of your baby's life. They cry all night and they want to eat all night. So that was really hard too, but we made it through. Okay, and I know I'm jumping all over the place now, but the other thing I could mention with my postpartum experience, which I think a lot of women would relate to, is that you just don't feel like yourself. I'm starting to feel like myself again, but the first 2 weeks, and now I'm 3 weeks, but I'm getting there now, I just didn't feel like myself. It's just a lot. It's a lot of transitioning and adjusting, getting to know your new self and your baby. I didn't feel like myself, and I think I did go through a little bit of that baby blues the first week just because of the emotional roller coaster that your hormones put you on. But I'm over that now. I'm feeling great. But yeah, if you don't feel like yourself, it will come back. Make sure you take time to acknowledge what you're feeling, and make sure you take time to yourself sometimes too. Like, ask for help when you need it. Take a shower when you need it. Take a bath when you need it. Take a nap when you're able to. Overall, that's pretty much all I have to say about my postpartum recovery so far. I am healing very nicely. I feel much better than I thought I would at this point, at least, and I'm very thankful for that. I know a lot of people have a really rough recovery. It was really rough at first, but it's getting better. My body is not back to normal, but that's okay. It's pretty much back to normal. You can't tell when I'm in clothes that it's not back to normal, but my belly just looks different than it did before. And my bones have shifted because I had to fit a baby. So things just change, but that's alright. I'm sorry I didn't really share too much. I feel like this tear has taken up my whole recovery. That's all I've been focusing on. So that's all I kind of remember. Hopefully I'll be able to elaborate more on postpartum in the questions portion of the video. Anyway, I hope that this was helpful to someone out there. It will get better, I promise. But also, I just needed to vent a little bit, so I thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it, or it helped you, or you relate to it or something. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching, and maybe I'll see you back next time. Bye!